Yeah, I'm going to talk about a bit of the life that we can find in our streams now. And I will kick us off with a little riddle for you guys. If you think you know what it is, just shout it in. I'm just going to go and read them out, and you just tell me if you have a guess. So we're looking for a species that you can find in any kind of freshwater habitat, where it likes to hide under rocks, overhanging banks, and tree roots. No guesses yet. The species begins its life out in the Pacific Ocean until currents wash it back to Aotearoa, where it spends 11 to 50 years in freshwater. Eels! Is it an eel? It is an eel. Very good guess. So it is one of the many species we find here, tuna. We also find 𝗁𝗵𝗶, freshwater crayfish, and there's a number of other fish we can find, such as bullies, but also the banded and the giant kokopu. And I have a second one. This species is a taonga species that provided communities with a source for food and materials for tools. Its environment needs a lot of specific things, so finding it is sort of an indicator for ecosystem health. No guesses, okay. This species grows up to 60 years old and can filter 1 liter of water every hour. Yay! It is a Kākahi. So that's a few fun facts to kick us off. But yes, we can also find Kākahi in the streams here. And just a little basic about what Kākahi are. They are native freshwater mussels to Aotearoa, and they are, depending on region, also known by a variety of other names. And they can be found in streams, rivers, lakes, all across the North and South Island. And as I said, they are very long-lived. They can grow up to 50 years old or even older. And it's a bit hard to determine how old they are, so they could grow even older, who knows? And there are 3 species across the country. There is the most common one, 𝗷𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗍. It's a mouthful, just call them Latin names. I'm not a fan. But it's the most common species. You can find it on the left-hand map. You can find it all over the country. But still, this species is also at risk and of declining status. Then we also have 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗔. That one is found specifically in the Auckland region and around Waikato. But it's all squares on the map. You can see there's few populations on the south of the North Island and then also in the very south of the South Island. And there's a few guesses as to how that could have happened. And one pretty good guess is that Maori actually brought them there to have a population there that can feed them. And then the last one we have is 𝗁𝗵𝗶𝗶. That one was only discovered quite recently, and it's only in very few lakes in the north of South Island. And yeah, there's very little data about this one, so who knows how many more species there are out there. So if you ever spot a Kākahi in a stream, you're going to see those 2 openings peeking out of the sediment. And that is how Kākahi feed and breathe. So through the 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗏, they breathe the water in, they suck it in, and then on their gills they sort the sediments, and the food is delivered to the mouth, and everything else is pushed out with the water through the 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗏, which is very cool. And also, they are not completely immobile. Kākahi actually have a little foot that they can use to move around and bury themselves into the sediment. So they're not helpless.
How far can they go? How far?
Well, they're quite slow, but in theory they could go on forever.
Alright, so can they go on dry land?
No. They do need water, and they do also need soft sediments so they can move around. Yes, I forgot to say this. If you have questions, just interrupt me, please. Then another very fascinating thing about them is their life cycle. So it's very, very intricate and it's very complicated, which is also why we have this planning status. So when brooding season starts, the male will just release sperm into the water and the female breathes it in, and then on the gills sit the eggs, and that's where they are fertilized and she broods them out until they grow into 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, which are these tiny things floating around here. That's when she releases them. And then comes along a fish, and that fish brings the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in, and it attaches to the fish scales, and then they catch a rat for a couple of weeks. And during that stage, they grow into these tiny little mussels at the bottom, juveniles, and that's when they drop from the fish, and that's when we lose data. Because it's very, very hard to find these tiny little juveniles. You can catch a fish, and you can find the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on the fish, but these juveniles are tiny and there's so much water around that it's very hard to find them. And they probably have quite a different feeding habit from adults as well. Yeah, but probably they bury into the ground and that's why we don't find them, or they attach themselves to logs, but there's not that much known about them. And at some point, once they're maybe 3 or 4 centimeters long, they start emerging again, and that's when they are grown into adults.
And how long does that take?
Growing into adults, 3 to 4 years is the average, the guess. Then Kākahi are very important to our ecosystems as well. They are ecological engineers. That means their presence has an impact on the ecosystem. So they shape the ecosystem by being there. That is because they are filter feeders, so they can accumulate some of the pollutants in their flesh and guts, which is also why you shouldn't eat them, especially on the island, because our streams aren't that healthy. And they also fix some of the sediments into the ground, so they bring higher water quality with them being there. Yeah, a healthy population can easily filter more water than the stream actually has as output in a day. And they also increase biodiversity through this, so better habitat, more species can live there, so it's very, yeah, very cool finding them. And just because they themselves also have very specific conditions that they need to live in, they are also an indicator species. So if we find them, it tells us this stream isn't actually doing that bad. And then they also have a very important cultural value. They were valuable 𝗪𝗵𝗶 for many Maori, and they also used to be plentiful in lakes such as 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗏𝗀 in the past, so they were able to actually play a very important role in sustaining communities, and finding a healthy and plentiful population meant that this is a good place to live and you can actually sustain a community in this place. And also the shells were used. I have a few here, so you can yeah, maybe just give this one around because it's already broken. So they're very strong, and they were used for tools, for cutting, also to make rattles, and yeah, one paper I read where a few Maori elders were interviewed, they said it's a very good potato peeler as well. But Kākahi are threatened by current conditions around the country. There is a loss of host fish because they need native fish species to complete their life cycle. When invasive species come in and fight for the habitat, that's a bad thing, and also if the host fish cannot sustain themselves, Kākahi cannot complete their life cycle as well. The rising temperatures also play an important role because brooding season is kicked off by the change in temperature, most likely. If the temperatures rise too early, that disconnects the season and the discharge of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 from peak fish season, so it is harder to find a host fish. Then also we have an increase in flood events, which can displace them, wash them out into sea where they cannot survive, and also causes sedimentation. So if there is too many sediments floating around in the water, that can clog their gills and they cannot breathe anymore. So they quite literally suffocate. problem. For example, rats predate on them. We have a few mussels here that we also found, and you can see, yeah, already. This one's missing a strong part, and here it's also bitten open. So that is something that rats do, and they just pull them out of the water and they snack on them. And also, if we have native vegetation loss, that means we have less shading. That is also a problem because that leads to less stable temperatures. Then again, it's a whole cycle. Yeah. So, how do we find Kākahi? Marta already talked about the eDNA tests we did. That is one thing. I'll just explain a bit further how eDNA tests work. eDNA stands for environmental DNA, and that means that is genetic material that can be found in water or soil anywhere in the environment. And these tests are very good because they are non-destructive, so they do not hurt any organism or the habitat, which a lot of other tests would do. And how it works, we actually have an old one here. So we suck in the water through the, what's it called?
Syringe.
Thank you. Syringe. And then we have this little filter that we screw on top. I'm doing it the wrong way around. And then you push it back out, which I won't be able to do, this is hard. And as you do that, all of the sediments and the DNA residues, they get caught in this filter. And we do that a couple of times, and then we take this filter and we send it back to the lab. And there they have a massive database.
Did you say a couple of times?
Too many times.
Like 20?
That's where all of our mussels come from. It is so hard. Because the filter clogs pretty easily if we have a very turbid water. So, yeah. That's why Britannia here is using this construction. So sometimes we couldn't finish. Yeah, and they have so the lab has a massive database, and they can compare all the DNA sequences they isolate from this filter, and then they can tell which species it is. And that's what they give us back. So that's what you can also find on the webpage. And it's just presence or absence data. Is the species there or not? Yes, they show how many of a sequence they find, but that can be totally random. For example, when we did these two tests, this shadow there, it's a tuna. So how it works, the tuna is just swimming around Marta, even trying to bite the filter or her fingers. And that, as it does that, maybe it leaves a little poo, or it just sheds some skin cells, and all of those end up in our filter. So we'll have a lot of tuna showing up in this test. Maybe he's the only tuna in the stream. We don't know. Yeah, and the same happened there.
Do they eat the mussels as well? Do they eat the mussels as well?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
And they bite.
And they bite.
Yeah,
Marta can tell you all about that. Yeah. Then another thing we did is the Walkie Stream campaign that Marta also showed you earlier. So that was a community engagement and citizen scientist campaign where everybody on the island could fill out an online form and just tell us about what they find in the stream in their backyard, because that's the main problem we have. We can't access every stream. A lot of streams run solely through private property. So even if we wanted to test them, we would have to knock on people's doors, which is what we did by the form. There's some people here who filled out the form. Thank you very much. And yeah, there were some pretty hot tips we got through that about fish species some people could identify, and there were 1 or 2 people who actually found Kākahi. So yeah, and even better, they allowed us to go on their property and look for them and assess the health. Yeah, it was great. The form is still running. I can just maybe show it to you. Ah, never mind, that's the video. I wanted to show you that as well. take a little walk along the stream. You don't want people interacting too much with it, also getting eaten by eels. Please don't. Don't put your fingers in. Just take a little walk along and see what you can find from there. Just take it. You can take a torch. Sometimes you will see some eyes staring back at you. Dakota. Yeah. So that's the running. If you want to fill out our form, please do. Yeah. And once we knew where we could find the Kākahi, now what we wanted to know is how are they doing? Are they reproducing? Is there a healthy population, or are they slowly dying out? Because that could be happening. If there's no young recruits, it could be that that we can still see the adults for, let's say, 30 years until they die out, but we just didn't notice when the change actually happened and when we would have had to take action. So that is our definition of a 𝗪𝗶 population, that we have a specific number of young individuals compared to the adults. So yeah, that was our goal. Find the little ones. And we always have one person in the water, that's me there, just walking through. Yes, I still have on my fingers. But I always took a little stick and poked in before I put my hands in.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work, it's true. Yeah, the ears don't care. It was luck. I was never bitten. But I was in the stream just feeling around on the ground everywhere, and every Kākahi we found, we took measurements, so we measured them for, this is a very good one, it's a very old one. We measured length, width, and then also height like this, because they can have some parasites that make them look a little bloated and wobbly. And if we didn't find any juveniles, we didn't give up. We stayed there for a bit longer and tried finding them. Sometimes it got very cold, just in the stream. And this is a bit of what we found. So this is a great example for different age classes. That's a quite big one. It's maybe 90 millimeters. That's about the biggest we found. Then we find quite a bit of this size, about 6 centimeters maybe. And then the juveniles is sometimes quite tricky. We had quite a few where there were just 40 millimeters, and that's just the mark where we stopped calling them juveniles. So it would just be like, can you just be 1 millimeter smaller? And that's the other example. That was an amazing stream. I put my hands in and suddenly I had 50 juveniles in my hands. So that is a great one.
Where was it?
I'm not telling the location. It's not really my
No, it's fine.
in my hands. And then also quite a few where we found rat damage. So like the ones I showed you, that stream had half of the ones we found were dead.
How's our rat population now? Is it, are we getting on top of it?
The rat population? Well, 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗶 is the one that is doing an Auckland Council, through the rat busters, are the one that they are doing the pest control on the island. We know that they have been doing a hard work. I don't know, I cannot tell you how is the rat population. They do a lot of control. What I can tell you is that, for example, in some streams that they have rat lines, we didn't find any rat shells or any Kākahi shells, so it means that the rat population in those areas is not high because they are not eating the Kākahi. In other areas where the rat control is not so high, we have been finding quite a lot of Kākahi that have been eaten by rats. So it's patching. It's like, and it's so difficult to control the rats on an island that is populated like this. That is, and they swim, and they hide, and they reproduce so fast. That I guess they have a lot of work. But they are doing a great mahi with controlling the rats. I cannot tell you that question is for 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗶 and not my cousin.
Okay.
Yes, this is a pretty good example of how hard it sometimes is to find a reason. We're still speculating on this one. So this is a stream, or image of a stream, that we looked at. And and it has 2 arms at the top. And we did surveys in each arms, because when we went there, we did the first arm, and we found a whole bunch of juveniles, and we were thinking, oh, this is great, let's go to the other one and also find a whole bunch of juveniles. And what we find there is only dead ones, and obvious signs of rats, and not one single juvenile. I went there 3 times, I still haven't found a juvenile. I'm not giving up, but still, we haven't found one yet. So yeah, that is one of the questions, or there's a bunch of questions around it. Is there the host fish still in the upper arm? Can it still migrate up there, or is there a barrier somewhere in that second arm that it cannot pass? Or does the stream maybe dry out during summer and that's why they cannot survive? Why are there so many rats in that one and not in the other one? Is there just one active line on the other one and that arm doesn't have a line? So yeah, that's very hard to determine. And then also on that stream we noticed, I also went to the point where the streams have joined and tried to see if they are there and then pinpoint the issue. But from there we couldn't find any, which could be because of saltwater influence. The further upstream you go, the easier it is to find them, but further downstream, saltwater influence there, and you're less likely to find Kākahi. So yeah, that is one of the many things we're still trying to figure out. We'll keep going there. Or you will. I'm leaving. Yeah. And then there's a bit more. I think the smallest one we found was 17 millimeters, which is very tiny. It's hard to find at that point. And the biggest one I documented was 78 millimeters, so that's quite an old guy. We found populations in 5 streams on Waiheke so far, but pretty sure there are more. And Martha found out how much earbuds are. So yeah, don't put your fingers in, it hurts. And they don't brush.
Did you check? How many strings did you check?
We did the eDNA tests at 6 strings.
We had done it 6, and we found, like, through the DNA, we found it in 2, and then we knew that was in another one because we also have been, there have been people helping us to find them, not through DNA tests, but I saw it in that stream, like the Work Your Stream campaign. This string that it has 2 arms, we didn't test it, we just been told that it was there, we went there and we found it. So we DNA test 6 this year, 2, 3 years ago, and in those 2 they were, so 6, 8. We have tested 8 strings.
And you found it in 5.
We find it in 4, and the other one, it has been through Work Your Stream campaign.
Yeah. So then the question is, what can we do to support these populations? And of course we can restore the native habitats, we can continue planting and continue maintaining these ecosystems. So they have shading, they have the native populations, and yeah, remove the invasive species. Then also something you all can do is keep your septic tank healthy, use our subsidies, get it checked regularly, and make sure if there is an issue to actually take action and fix it. Yeah, we can continue to keep predators in check. I think there's volunteering options as well with 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗲𝗏.
Yeah, and also you can do it in your backyard.
Yeah, keep the rats away. And also if you take a walk and you see, oh, there's a bunch of dead shells around here, you can let Auckland Council know, they pay 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗏 and tell them where to trap. And also you can do the monitoring with us or by yourself. Yeah, you can get training by Martha. You can keep your eyes on the water whenever you take a walk and you notice something strange, or you notice a septic tank leak. Let your neighbor, or if that doesn't work, Auckland Council know. And yeah, make sure that the ecosystems are healthy. Yeah, and you can still fill out our form, and always contact us at 𝗪𝗁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yeah, that is from my side.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Did you, I was just going to ask, how many, do you have maps of where the streams are?
Maps of the stream. Yeah, you can go for example, in waterways in Waiheke Resources Trust. There's many maps, no? For example, Auckland Council has a web that is called 𝗀𝗵𝗶. In there you can find everything, no? If you want to see, for example, this is only for the waterways, but we have another one for the wetland where you can see all the restoration that we are doing. You just scroll down here. And here you've got, this is Waiheke, and in here you can find all the streams and all the work that we are doing on them. And now you can see the DNA test that we have been doing, or water testing sites, no? Or not only by us, but also we have volunteers group working with us that they are testing their own stream, like in the 𝗪𝗵𝗵𝗶, they are doing it themselves. What else? These of 𝗪𝗶𝗵𝗲𝗀 1 and 2. These are the Aqua Watch, but it's not public just yet on the info. No, we've got in here. We are also testing the neighbors. It's not uploaded here just yet because this is something that we are doing now as we go. No, because we want to make all this information public, so everyone knows the state of health of the stream.
And how do you differentiate between stream and runoff?
Usually a stream has water the whole year round,
Right.
and those are the ones that we are testing. No, because it doesn't make sense to test something that dries out in summer. I don't have consistency on water, so it has to be, and then a runoff usually is just from
Yeah, exactly, that's what makes
from the rain. So
You won't
after
get-
rain, I go there as nothing. O sea, this it's not an stream. So you can find info in here, or if you go to Auckland Council 𝗀𝗵𝗶, this one, you can play a lot with this one. This is public info, and in here you can, yes, this is a GIS web that you can play with the maps and everything. You go to Waiheke Island, you know, and if you like playing with this, you can find anything here. You know, this is a map from Waiheke. Well, you can play with this, no? And you can
I get
see
it.
where the streams are, and you can see the access, you can see the run, or you can see the COVID, you can see anything. Just play with the map. All the info that is in Auckland Council, you can find it here. You can find your house, and you can find the capital value of it, anything.
Fabulous.
Talking about shading, is there an aversion to sunlight for the population, or how adverse are they to non-shaded areas?
Yes, they have a range, as every organism, a range in which, like a temperature range that they can handle. So if there's direct sunlight on it, they really don't like it. You will only find them in shaded areas.
And so they could prove to be a barrier from
Yeah.
them transitioning from
Yeah.
one part of the stream to the next.
And sometimes you can only find them under the banks, so that could be a sign that there's not enough shading, and that's why you don't find them in the middle of the stream. If you find them in the middle of the stream, that's cool, that's good. The bush is doing well. It's doing its job. Yeah.
How far inland is the salt water and sort of in its influence up a stream? Do you know, just like ballpark?
It depends on the stream. No, because the streams that are very flat, the salt water can go in a lot. No, but if the catchment is really steep, the salty water is gonna go only like few meters, like 20 meters. It depends on the catchment. It's gonna be different every single catchment. No, because stewarding that is quite flat, that salt influence it goes in quite a lot. It can be depending on how big is the stream. No, it's like they can go even kilometers inside. So it's gonna depend on the kilometers. I mean, not in Waiheke. No? It's gonna depend on the catchment.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. No more questions? Please help yourselves to some more snacks. I am made a lot.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah.
If you want. We will be doing more workshops and more stuff now with the waterways and the wetlands. If you have any specific workshop or something that you want to talk about, or you want me to organize or whatever, just please let me know. No, I will be happy to help you. Any questions, please contact me. I'm always available. If I'm not in the office, just send me an email and I will read it. Whatever you need, or just please.
Did you want to say something about this bug in front of you, or?
That's the.
Oh, that's the key. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the key.
the
Yeah.
So there will be the syringe, the filter.